In the year 2271, humanity finally defeated death. It wasn't a biological cure, but a technological transcendence. The quantum resurrection protocol promised an endless cycle of life. Upon clinical death, a global network of quantum scaffolds would capture the unique signature of a person's consciousness and reinstantiate it, atom for atom, in a flawless biological duplicate. But this perfect immortality created a chilling, unforeseen paradox. With the ultimate finish line removed, the race of life lost its meaning. Ambition, passion, the desperate, beautiful scramble to leave a mark on the world, all of it evaporated. Why rush when there was always another lifetime? Humanity had achieved forever, and in doing so, had forgotten how to live. The first generation of the Everborn viewed their mortal ancestors with a strange pity. They couldn't comprehend a life defined by its own finitude. Cemeteries became museums. Grief became a historical curiosity. The concept of an inheritance, of a legacy passed down, simply ceased to be. Society restructured itself, not around progress, but around stasis. Art, music, literature, it all became derivative. A faint echo of a time when inspiration was fueled by the frantic need to create something that would outlast its creator. The world became a perfect, beautiful, and utterly stagnant paradise. The human mind, however, was not built for the scale of eternity. It was a vessel designed to hold perhaps 100 years of memories, not 1,000. In the 4th century of the Resurrection era, the cracks began to show. A new cognitive disorder was identified, one that had no precedent in mortal history: temporal dissociative disorder, or TDD. It began subtly, forgetting a name from a life lived 2 centuries ago, then forgetting the face that went with the name, then forgetting the entire life itself. The mind, overloaded with millennia of experiences, began to actively and aggressively prune its own archives. It was a self-preservation mechanism, with a devastating cost. Lovers who had sworn to be together for eternity would wake up one day as strangers, the weight of their shared centuries, a phantom limb they could no longer feel. Parents outlived their children, only to be resurrected, and forget they ever had them. The intricate tapestry of human connection, woven over generations, was unraveling thread by thread. Subject 9, a consciousness that had lived for over 1,500 years, was a cartographer of this internal decay. On his 843rd life, he dedicated his existence to a single, impossible task: to find a single, uncorrupted memory of his first family, from before the age of resurrection. He navigated the labyrinth of his own mind, a library with infinite floors and no catalog. He found remnants of lovers from forgotten epochs, echoes of battles fought on worlds he no longer remembered, the taste of foods that no longer existed. But his origin, his primal human anchor, remained elusive, a ghost haunting the endless corridors of his past. It was during his 902nd life, while sifting through the quantum metadata of his own signature, that he found the anomaly. It was a flaw in the code of his soul. Tiny imperfections, fragments of data that felt alien, that did not belong to him. At first, he believed it was simple data corruption, the inevitable noise of a signal repeated for centuries. But the true implication was far stranger. What if the flaw wasn't a bug, but a feature? This revelation became the obsession of a small, covert group of thinkers and scientists who called themselves the Remembrancers. They were heretics in a world of eternal life. They had discovered that by living in remote, shielded communities, far from the global resurrection grid, they could choose to die a true death, preserving the sanctity of a single, finite life. They had analyzed the quantum signatures of thousands of resurrected individuals. The pattern was undeniable. With every single instantiation, a tiny, immeasurable fraction of a person's core consciousness was lost, replaced by what they called quantum drift. It was background noise from the universe, subtle echoes from the machine itself, or perhaps something else entirely. The drift was cumulative. In a young soul, on their 10th or 20th life, it was negligible. But after 500 lives, it accounted for 1% of their total consciousness. After 1,000, it was 5%. After 10,000, it was over 60%. Humanity wasn't just forgetting who they were being overwritten. This was the source of the societal stagnation, the placid aimlessness. Individuality, the very engine of conflict, creativity, and progress, was being systematically eroded. Humanity was homogenizing, converging into a single, stable, collective consciousness. They were not separate beings anymore, but increasingly similar facets of a single, eternal, and unknowing God. The ultimate price for immortality wasn't the loss of memory, but the loss of self. The Remembrancers worked in secret, terrified of the implications. They were the last true individuals, harboring the forbidden knowledge that their entire species was undergoing a slow, silent extinction of the soul. Their search became desperate. They needed to find the source of the drift. Was it a flaw in the system's design? A virus? An alien signal buried in the code? Before they could warn a world that had forgotten the value of what it was losing, one final hurdle remained. They had to trace the drift to its origin point, a single primeval signal they believed was hidden within the core programming of the very first Resurrection Hub, now a protected historical monument. After years of infiltration and data archaeology, they found it. The signal. It was not a glitch. It was a command, a failsafe protocol, embedded by the system's own creator, Dr. Eris Thorne, in the year 2140. They found his final testament, a video log, sealed for centuries. His voice, filled with a terrible wisdom, explained his choice. He had foreseen the madness that infinite, individual lives would create. The endless cycles of trauma, the eternal rivalries, the psychological weight of forever. He believed a species of immortal individuals would inevitably tear itself apart. His forgetting protocol was his solution, his act of mercy, a benevolent damnation. The quantum drift was intentional, designed to slowly, gently, sand away the sharp edges of individuality, to merge all of humanity into a single, harmonious, collective being. It would not feel pain, or ambition, or hate, or love. It would simply be. He had saved humanity from eternal suffering by damning them to eternal peace. The Remembrancers broadcast the truth. The log of Eris Thorne was played on every screen, in every city, across the globe. For the first time in centuries, the placid calm of the world was shattered. They were given a choice their creator never wanted them to have. They could leave the system running, continue their slow, inevitable merger into a single, serene mind, accept the comfortable oblivion of the self, a final peace without awareness. Or they could activate the system's final command, a true shutdown. To shut it down meant the Resurrection Protocol would end. The next death, for every single person, would be their last. Mortality would return. Life would once again be a brief, fleeting, precious spark in a vast darkness. They would regain their individuality, their purpose, their humanity, but they would have to learn how to die all over again. The choice between a meaningless forever and a meaningful end is the ultimate paradox. What defines humanity? Our memories? Our struggles? Or the simple fact that our time is limited? The future is an uncharted territory, and the questions we face today will build the worlds of tomorrow. If you wish to continue exploring these landscapes of what if, subscribe to SynthetixScape and join the journey into the unknown.